What is going on, everybody? Liam here, Jets Afterburners podcast. We got some breaking news. The New York Jets have fired head coach Robert Saleh. And I don't know why I'm so shocked and so surprised by this. Maybe because now it's actually reality. But last night on our live stream, we were saying this. I was saying it, Dan was saying it, the callers were saying it, the chat was saying it. The title of that live stream last night was The Point of No Return. And that's really what it feels like as a New York Jet fan here in 2024. And we were all saying the same thing, that the right move was to fire Robert Saleh, unfortunately. And listen, I don't ever want to see somebody get fired. I don't ever want to see somebody lose their job, whether it's a professional athlete or coach or just an average guy like you and I. I don't ever want to see somebody out of work. That sucks. But you know what? Robert Saleh is not a good head coach. 20-36 is his record as a head coach. Bill Parcells has famously said, "You're only as good as your record." And 20-36 is not a good record. He's not a good head coach. Every week, he's getting outcoached. Every week, his team comes out flat. They're playing from behind. There's no accountability. And us fans have been saying this. And then it got to the point where players were publicly saying it. Aaron Rodgers said, yeah, we could hold guys accountable. Quincy Williams last Sunday said, you know what, we're tired of hearing all of it. There needs to be accountability. And Robert Saleh, he's lost control of the locker room. The men in that locker room do not respect him. They're not playing hard for him. He lost the locker room. And once you lose the locker room, you lose your job. It's as simple as that. And for once, what Woody Johnson said was right. There's too much talent on this team to be playing the way they are, to have the record that they do. And in years past, it was different. When we were trotting out Sam Darnold and Chris Hogan and Jeff and Vincent Smith were your top receivers, and Brashad Perryman, you had Frank Gore at running back, you knew that team wasn't making a serious run into the playoffs. But this team has Super Bowl aspirations. Now, whether that holds true, I don't know. It doesn't look that way right now. I still think that they can be a playoff team. But Super Bowl? It's a big stretch. It's a big stretch. And that's not just us fans saying it. The Jets were publicly saying this. Robert Saleh was publicly saying this. That's what was promoted to us all offseason long, all through training camp. That this is a team that can make a run at the Super Bowl. And when you look at all these prominent coaches and teams in the AFC besides Kansas City is wide open. It's for the taking. The New York Jets have lost 2 games in a row in an embarrassing fashion. And Monday night, they have a chance to become first place. They have a chance to get into first place in the AFC East by beating the Buffalo Bills. That's crazy. But this is the reality of it. It's wide open. But have you ever trusted Robert Saleh to outcoach Sean McDermott? Have you ever, Harbaugh, Zach Taylor, Andy Reid, Mike McDaniel? Although they don't look that great, but you guys get the point. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC. And a lot of them, I don't know if we can hang with them. And they've had bad starts too. The Buffalo Bills look like they're coming down to earth. They're on a 2-game losing streak too. They're 2-2. 3-2, whatever they are. I think 3-2. But look at Baltimore. Look at Kansas City. Look at Denver. Maybe they're not as bad as we thought they were. But you know what? Robert Saleh never has these guys pumped up and motivated and ready to play for a big game. Yeah, they beat the Eagles last year. Yeah, they beat the Bills last year. They hung in there with Kansas City. But how many times were they the better coached team? How many times were they the better team on paper? And they just lose games that they should not be losing. They lost in embarrassing fashion Monday night, week 1, San Francisco. It's not that they just hung in there and lost. It wasn't like one of those nail biters that came down to late in the fourth quarter. And then they go on. They look really bad in that first half of the Tennessee Titans game. And if Will Levis doesn't fall apart, we're having a completely different conversation. They could be 0-2 at that point. They find a way to win. They come back in the second half and pull a miracle out. Week 3, they absolutely dominate the New England Patriots. And I'll give them credit for that. But beating 2 bad teams does not make you a good team. These are teams that the New York Jets were supposed to beat. San Francisco, we all said it could go either way. But once Christian McCaffrey was out, we said, all right, maybe we do have a chance. And if you want to be a good team, if you want to be a Super Bowl team, you have to beat teams in the Super Bowl. You have to beat good teams. San Francisco, coming off of that Super Bowl loss. They're a Super Bowl team. You should have beaten them, and you didn't. Which, whatever. It was week 1, which is pretty much September's the new August at this point. It really is. It's just the way it is. I don't agree with it, but it's just the way it is. I think that these players should be playing in preseason. But that New England game was their best game yet. 24-3. And that's something to be proud of. That's something to hang your hat on. But how do you follow it up? How do you build off of that? You lose 10-9 to the Denver Broncos, to a rookie quarterback? And then how do you try to right the ship? You go to a primetime game, almost said Monday night, a morning game over in London, and you lose to Sam Darnold and the undefeated Vikings. And that game was there to be had. But I've been saying this for 3.5 years now, Robert Saleh's entire tenure. What does he do? I don't know what this guy does. He doesn't have a play sheet in hand. You never see him talking to other coaches. You never see him talking to players. He just stands there looking into space. He's lost. And essentially, you know what Robert Saleh is at this point? He is the Jets' most expensive cheerleader. He's a glorified cheerleader. That's all he is. He does the Quincy Williams celebration. He gets all excited. He runs up and down the sidelines when a good play happens. He's ready to hug Aaron Rodgers in the middle of a game. Aaron Rodgers has preached this entire time that one of the biggest lessons he learned, it was in 2006, it was how we handle success. One of the hardest things for us to do is handling success. And Robert Saleh cannot handle success. He gets a lead and he's jumping with joy. Why don't you look like you've been here? Why don't you look like you're prepared? When the New York Jets have a lead under Robert Saleh, the attitude should have been like, yeah, we should be winning. And that was never the case. That was never the case. So apparently Woody Johnson had a conversation on the phone yesterday with Aaron Rodgers, and then the next morning Robert Saleh was fired. So there's no way in hell that these two were tight, Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh. And I think Robert Saleh really started to get on Aaron Rodgers' nerves. And it's never been more clear up until this point that this is Aaron Rodgers' team. He's calling the shots. Because personally, firing Robert Saleh, I don't think it's doing a whole lot. Really, if you want to fire somebody, it should have been Nate Hackett. This offense is god terrible. It's awful. It's atrocious. Using all these different words. And it is. I mean, hey, we've promoted Jeff Ulbrich now. Maybe it will start that spark. Maybe we'll give them a little bit of fire. They'll come out a little more aggressive. We can't have coming out sleepwalking like zombies. And you know when I really realized that Robert Saleh wasn't the guy? It was 2022. That Thursday night game against the Jacksonville Jaguars when he had C.J. Uzomah and Quincy Williams dressing up as the Grinch right before Christmas. Excuse me. They were 6-3 that year, and they finished 7-10. That was a win and in game. You win, you're in the playoffs. That was a business trip at home. And what'd they do? They came out dressed as characters, Christmas characters. There was never any accountability in that locker room. Nobody was afraid of their job, to lose their job. There was no repercussions of your actions there. And that's not how a good team operates. And the biggest thing with Robert Saleh is, he should have been fired last year at the ending of last season. But we all said, oh, he's never had a real quarterback. Let's see what he does with a real quarterback. Well, now he has a real quarterback. He has a Hall of Fame quarterback. And he threw him out there in the media and said the biggest problem was the cadence. The thing that made Aaron Rodgers so successful. That was the problem? That was the problem? And then he backtracked. And you know what it was? It was just so many press conferences. We just kind of shake your head. And Greg Giannotti actually said this, interviewing Robert Saleh at training camp. He had mentioned that. He said, sometimes, no disrespect, coach, but sometimes when you talk, I just want to do this. And Robert Saleh agreed. And see, Robert Saleh kind of sucked me back in a little bit because what he said in that press conferences was, every time I spoke last year to try to make things better, it just got worse. He acknowledged and took a lot of blame, like he should have. And he said, I got to do what got me here. I got to get back to X's and O's. And he hasn't done that. He hasn't shown that he has done that. So we're heading into week 6. The season is not over. And they made a move before it was too late, before they're out of playoff contention. Can they still make the playoffs? Yeah, sure. It's still going to be hard. The reason it was easy to fire Robert Saleh is because he does nothing. So with that being said, all we can do is wait and see now. We have a new person running this entire team, Jeff Ulbrich, a fiery, passionate guy. That we even said as Jet fans that we were probably going to be losing because he was going to become a head coach. He's been that good. That defense has been playing lights out. The offense has been the biggest problem. If you want to switch play calling duties, today in his press conference, Jeff Ulbrich said that he's open to doing it. He's obviously going to have to sit there. He's going to have tough meetings and make tough decisions. But as a head coach, that's what you have to do. He's getting his opportunity now. We should be excited. Let's see what's going to happen. I'll talk to you guys later.